This is the so-called student loan debt crisis. More than 5 years have passed since student loan borrowers have been required to make any payments. But now, that payment pause has ended, and millions of borrowers currently in default are facing garnishment of their wages, tax returns, and even Social Security payments. And they all know who's responsible for their pain and suffering.
So Trump wasn't able to get no money from the tariffs, so now he's going to bother you, the person who was educated, by garnishing your wages from your student loans.
So student loans, they don't want to relieve student loans. They don't want to help the people. The one man who should understand, because he got a huge loan from his father, basically evades taxes. Their team doesn't want to help with student loans because they want to keep the country stupid.
There's only two conclusions that we can come to. Either you heard everything that he said and voted for him anyway, knowing it was against your own interest, making you stupid, or you voted for him because you thought he would impose cruelties on people who didn't look, think, or worship like you, making you an ass. That's it.
Donald Trump threatening to collect on everyone's student loans this summer is nothing more than punishing poor people for getting educated. Punishing poor people for getting educated. And if you can't afford to pay for it out of pocket, we're going to ruin your life. And you're probably going to end up on the streets. And because homelessness is criminalized, you're going to end up in jail. And now we're sending criminals that are U.S. Citizens to El Salvador in prisons. So good luck.
15%, whether you have it or not, as of May 5th. So long as you have money in your bank account, they are taking it. Matter of fact, financial aid just called me the other day and I hung up on them. Not in the mood, don't have it. I'm living off life. I'm vibing. This man really said, you know what? Let's make the rich richer. Let's make the others poor.
Trump is going to start going after everyone who has any type of federal student loan. This economy is already crazy, and now he's going to start taking money out of 5 million people's paychecks.
Wake up, dude. It's just so crazy to me that people will push scientists and intellectuals aside, but they will follow a man with orange skin that doesn't know to the end of the earth.
And this is really pissing me off because I'm engaged, and like, how I'm supposed to pay for a wedding and I gotta pay for student loans? How I'm supposed to buy a house and I have to pay for student loans? It's either you save for a down payment or you pay off all your student loans first. And nobody wants to stay in a high, expensive apartment for life.
So the bad orange man is trying to keep Brittany here from having a lavish wedding and forcing her to live in an expensive apartment. Damn you, Donald Trump!
I'm not giving y'all a goddamn cent of my money, okay? Money that I don't have, by the way. But even if I did have the money to pay for it, you're still not getting it. Y'all the one that forced us to go in the first place, telling us that if we didn't go to college, we weren't going to amount to nothing. And, you know, going to college is better than having a trade. And, you know, if you want to have this amount of money, then you need to... All lies. All lies. Most of us are unemployed.
Of course, it's not the fact that you went to college per se, it's that you probably studied something useless. So, what was your major, Carly O?
So I was a sociology major in undergrad, and I went to grad school. I was going to go for sociology because I wanted to be a professor, but then I changed to a business major because I thought I was going to work in the DEI space. But my concentration was in race, class, and gender. Y'all not getting a goddamn sit.
Imagine being 17 and 18 years old, going into college and getting forced to take out a student loan because you were told that in order to make it in life, you have to better yourself by going to school and getting an education.
Do not let these people make you think you are stupid for feeling like you've ended up in an exploitative, predatory situation based on decisions you were told to make as a 17-year-old, as a literal child.
This country allows teenagers to make life-changing financial decisions before they are ever even legally allowed to have a drop of alcohol or rent a hotel room or rent a car.
I was only like 17. I couldn't read at that age. I didn't know what those papers were saying. I thought I was signing my name on the line, promising that I would get my degree and save lives, which is what I do every day. That's what I thought. I couldn't really read at 17, so whoops.
So 17 and 18-year-olds aren't mature enough to make life-changing financial decisions, yet the same people will argue that 12-year-olds know with 100% certainty that they're a girl trapped in a boy's body. Got it.
I love it whenever I see people who are like, oh, you have student loans? Like, well, if you can't afford to go to college, like, you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't go to that option. And it's like, you know what? Well, then, if you can't afford to buy a house in cash, then you shouldn't buy a house. Mortgages shouldn't exist then, because you shouldn't go into debt for something that you can't afford. On the house thing, though, you know who agrees with me? Dave Ramsey. Literally. He's like, buy a house in cash, which is like really unreasonable advice, but just saying.
Fact check false. Personal finance consultant Dave Ramsey will tell you that taking out certain types of mortgages is totally fine, as long as your monthly payment, including property taxes and insurance, don't exceed 25% of your monthly take-home pay. In other words, buy a house that you can afford. And that logic should be applied when taking out student loans. Only take out what you can actually afford to pay back. But instead of facing that reality, many student loan borrowers would rather insult those who are responsible with their finances.
This is why I didn't go to school. You didn't go to school because you're illiterate. You didn't go to school because you can't do simple math. You didn't go to school because you wouldn't get in. Yet you will go 100K in debt on a truck. Shut up.
And it's like, literally, of all of the things to shame people for being in debt for, like being like shaming people for having student loans because they took out loans to get an education to better themselves, to be a better member of society. It's bonkers.
Well, it was your decision to take out the loan. When I went to trade school, it only cost me $1.50. Shut the fuck up. Like, yeah.
Many of us have stopped paying student loans back because we can't. Because then we won't be able to eat. Go f yourself.
No one told you to sit on your ass and stay at home and eat f***ing pizza every day. No, we did what we needed to do so that way your kids can have somewhere to go to school. So that way your kids can have someone to teach them. So that way your kids have a nurse that can take care of them. So that way if something breaks down in your house, somebody can come fix it.
So is Angie here saving lives, teaching your children, or fixing things in your home?
I went to the Art Institute of Charlotte and studied fashion merchandise marketing and management.
Oh, never mind. Anyway, there's some people out there that claim that you can avoid paying back your student loans by staying in school forever.
I will never be paying my student loans. And here's how you can also never pay your student loans without having your wages garnished by the federal government if you would like to do that. As long as you are enrolled in 6 credit hours per semester, you do not have to make a payment on your student loans.
They can't garnish your wages if you're a student. A student who is taking at least 6 credit hours. A student who is taking 6 credit hours in a degree-seeking or a certificate-seeking program, preferably at a local community college where the tuition is going to be a lot cheaper than that student loan bill you're going to get.
For me, and as I am sure is true for a lot of people, it is cheaper for me to take 6 credit hours at the local community college a semester than it is for me to make 1 month of minimum payments to my student loans.
I can guarantee you that 1 semester of tuition that's under $700 or $800 at most is going to be cheaper than 6 months of bills.
So, spoiler alert, no. Here's J.S. Fleischman, aka the MoneyWise lawyer, to explain.
It really pains me to tell you, she's wrong. Going back to school is not going to prevent or stop a wage garnishment for your defaulted student loans. Neither the regulations nor the governing statutes provide any special protection based on the borrower's enrollment in a degree or certificate program.
So even if you could avoid paying back your student loans by going back to school until you die, like that was the entire plan? Sad, really. Now, there's a common trend where you'll see people with student debt completely perplexed by the size of their student loan balance.
I have paid my student loans religiously for 9.5 years. When I got out of grad school, I owed $45,000. After paying 9.5 years, I still owe $44,500. Some of us have actually been trying to pay what we owe,
but probably not trying hard enough.
Some of us did read the fine print. Some of us do want to pay our loan, but it is not cool to have a government that is willing to put and continuously put high interest rates for education on these loans so that you have a population of highly educated people who can never get out of debt.
Funny that there's so many highly educated people that don't understand that paying the bare minimum on your student loan doesn't actually pay off your student loan.
I graduated a decade ago and I owed $50,000, right? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to be consistent. I'm going to pay my bill. And eventually that amount will go down. And I have paid $200 something a month since then.
I bet you know where this is going.
$200 something a month. It has been 10 years later. I started at $50,000. It's at $47,000, right? I've paid $25,000+ since I graduated college, and it's only down $3,000. It's not making sense.
Makes sense to me. What's your problem?
It's not making sense. It's not making sense. $200 is already a nice sized bill. What do you want me to do?
Pay more? I don't know.
I have people in the comments saying, well, what you should have done is work 3 jobs and eat bone broth so you could pay off your loans. There's got to be a better way. That's all I'm saying. There's got to be a better way.
So by my estimate, to get it down from $50,000 to $47,000, Ivory here was paying an average of $27 a month over the past 9 years towards the principal of her loan. The rest was paying for the interest.
And if people are like, well, why should there be no interest on student loans when there's interest on houses, interest on cars? Get rid of it all. I don't mind. Get rid of it all. You know what I'm saying?
But going on TikTok and proclaiming that interest shouldn't exist is not remotely productive.
We've been paying on these loans for 15 or 20 years, and I still owe the exact same amount that I owed when I borrowed it. I have paid $50,000 to my $50,000 loan. I've paid over that, and I still owe like $47,000. They're never going away. I could pay on them for 50 years, and when I die, the bill will go in my casket with me.
I bet she makes the required monthly car payment for that luxury SUV, though.
This top number is the amount of loans that I took out to get a bachelor's degree. This number under it is the amount that I owe now. Now, in the time since I graduated, I spent over 10 years of my life as a social worker. Now, during that time, I never made, although the work I did was very important, I never made over $15 an hour. So when I was on an income-based repayment plan, the amount that I could afford to pay apparently was never enough to even cover the monthly interest.
So this woman has been making what seems to be the bare minimum student loan payment that the federal government would allow for the last 14 years. But at the same time, she's like, apparently it wasn't enough to cover the monthly interest. As if she just only figured this out after a decade and a half.
I'm gonna keep posting about this all day because this is bullshit. You wanna know why people are pissed off about their student loans? It's not because we can't get anyone else to pay them for us. It is because you have set it up where we can never pay them off ourselves. Anyone who still doesn't see that this is rigged against us can get...
I can feel your anger.
This is the part that pisses me off because I did not take out $80,000 in student loans. Not even close to that. I don't have any issue with paying for all of my education. I will pay for it. I will pay for it over the next 10 to 20 years. I don't care. I will pay for it.
So this girl has a $60,000 student loan with a fixed monthly payment of $670 to be paid over the next 10 years. And to her credit, she's not making excuses and plans on paying it back, but her main issue is with paying the interest.
I have an issue with paying $20,000 to $30,000 of interest or more than that. It's gonna be more than that because it might take me more than 10 years to pay this off. I don't wanna pay 30 more in interest.
Then don't! I shouldn't have to be telling a literal math teacher this. But if you pay even just a little extra each month towards the principal, you won't have to pay 20 grand in interest. For example, if she paid an extra $50 a month, her loan could be paid off in 9 years instead of 10, and she would end up paying about $2,000 less in interest. Instead of sitting there and whining about having to pay tens of thousands of dollars in interest, some student loan borrowers are actually doing something about it.
It's March 12th, 2025, and today I'm in $173,280 in debt. And my goal is quite ambitious. I hope to be in only $100,000 in debt by the time my next birthday comes around. So that means I had to pay $73,280 in debt this upcoming year.
So this girl is a 27-year-old corporate lawyer. The majority of that $173,000 is from student loans. Some of it is from her husband's student loan. He went to law school. But most of it is hers, and she wants it gone.
Now, in order to do this, we will work our normal jobs, our normal 9 to 5, and we will side hustle on top of that. I have a photography business on the side. I don't make a lot of money from it. I think I make about $3,000 to $5,000 a year, depending on how much clientele I have that year. We will DoorDash, and we will do part-time legal work. I will also look into other opportunities such as cleaning houses, whatever we have to do to get out of this debt.
So it helps that due to really solid life choices, that her and her husband both have actual careers. And while they could probably make regular monthly payments to their student loan over 10 to 20 years and be just fine, they're not having it.
It's Friday afternoon. It's right after our 9 to 5. We're about to go DoorDash. I'm hoping that we make $80.
I'm hoping we make 60.
We'll see how it goes. We ended up making $41 from that dash. I think we dashed for 2 hours.
Hey, it's $40 more than they had 2 hours prior. But is what they're doing actually working?
It's May 1st, so it's time to update you guys how much debt we have total. And we have $168,865,000 in debt.
So in just 2 months, they went from $173,000 to $168,000. And apparently it would have been more, but they had to pay year-end taxes and they had some other expenses.
Anyways, May is going to be similar where we have a lot of expenses, so we won't be able to pay off as much. But once June, July, August, September get here, we're going to get back to the high quantities that we were paying off beforehand.
So instead of whining about interest or screaming that loans are predatory and we're victims, these two are laser focused. And if you happen to go on TikTok, drop these two a message of encouragement. And if you're on X, follow me at Don't Walk Run. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.